Can you repeat what he said?
Oh,
You were off camera.
he said, so we're talking to Stanley Kubrick,
Yes, yes,
and
I'm gonna do the
he,
introduction. I just wanted
okay,
to...
he said, as he comes in, he's carrying this big stack of papers and books, like kind of a weighty stack.
Yeah.
He looks a bit disheveled, I would describe him. I mean, he's kind of a, like the the feeling is of the absent-minded professor. And he says, the first thing he says to me is, "Don't worry, I won't bite."
That's him.
Okay.
I know that
Yeah.
that's him.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome everyone to Channeling Erik YouTube channel. And today I will be your host. And well, Veronica was supposed to do this channeling with you, but she's taking a break. So I will be your host. And yeah, we are channeling Stanley Kubrick. He's one of my favorite directors, actually. I watched all of his movies many years ago. I should, rewatch them because
He's
they're...
a little mad at me because I haven't really watched many of his movies, but he says that'll be fine because I'll be I can be
blank
neutral.
slate.
Yeah.
Seriously. Okay. So for those ones who don't know who Stanley Kubrick is, I will read a little bio here. So Stanley Kubrick, 1928, 1999, was an American film director, screenwriter, and producer renowned for his visionary style, meticulous attention to detail, and mastery across genres. His iconic films include 2001, A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut. They forgot to put Lolita, which is one of the
Mhm.
very
He
important.
says they forgot a few actually,
Oh, many
but that's
others.
okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
He says it's okay.
So Kubrick died of a heart attack on March 7, 1999, at the age of 70, just days after completing the final cut of Eyes Wide Shut. He remained intensely private and creatively active until the very end of his life. So hopefully this little short bio gave him justice, not too much, but we have to make it short.
So I'll also say Erik is behind me, right
Yes,
on my shoulder right here. So he might
yes,
chime in. We'll find out. But it
yes.
feels like he's going to just let Stanley talk. So we'll see.
Thank you, Erik, for always being there. And Erik is Elisa Medius' son, and he's coming from the afterlife to assist our mediums, with all the channelings and things like that. Yes. Okay, let's go to the questions then. Oh, wow, there is the first one is a very big question. So let's see, maybe we can do it a little bit simpler, but let's see. Now that you've transcended physical form, how do you reflect on your body of work?
Mm. He says, I find this to be a somewhat difficult question in that the body of my work explores various aspects of human consciousness. And he's showing me an arrow, actually, like a bow and arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And what he was showing me he wanted to do in his work was ask questions and point the arrow in the direction of the target. But he says he was never trying to answer questions. His work, my work, simply put, was an exploration of questions related to being human. I never sought or believed that I had the answers. And for this reason, some people find my films confusing. I like this. I sought to ask questions and make people think about what it means to be human.
Very well, yes, indeed. So, what really inspired you to film in the first place? What was the main inspiration for you?
He's asking me if you're asking in general what started his desire to film,
Yeah, what
or
started your desire to film?
in my heart, I'm a storyteller and a desire to tell stories about the human experience and ask larger questions. He's showing me various inspirations. He's extremely knowledgeable about art, music, classical music specifically, photography, film. He takes inspiration from other film.
Mm-hmm.
He shows me visual art.
Mm-hmm.
Really, he was drawing on the inspiration in the world, he says. Literature. He's a voracious reader, reading all the time. Music. He saw art as one of the most fundamental and important aspects of humanity, and sought to create art in his own way. I attempted to use art in a way that would make people think about who they are, to know more deeply the darkness within themselves, and to understand that we are one choice away from evil.
So is there any film that you are the most proud of, and why? That you made,
No,
obviously.
no. That is a too difficult of a question for me to answer. I am proud of each of my films, even lesser known films, for they were reflections of my thinking. I spent many hours in contemplation prior to each film, and worked tirelessly within each film to allow it to unfold in a natural and organic way. I felt and feel the process of making a film is just as important as the final product. I saw the process in and of itself as an act of creation, and each person played a part in this process. Therefore, it is difficult for me to say this film is best. Sure, there are films that receive more attention than others, but I saw them equally as products, as an aspect of my imagination and the wanderings of my imagination.
Yeah. Well, what I would find very interesting is how you would, yes, experiment a lot through the art of filmmaking, but also experiment with stories that were almost always controversial. And many of your movies, some of your movies were actually censored. And they create some scandal and things like that. So how would you, after all that effort that you were putting into making a movie, how would you feel after, they were very well received by filmmakers, etc., and intellectuals, but they were not very well received by the establishment. So how would you feel after, receiving this, this kind of, they were like obstacles basically in releasing your movies, and yeah, how would you take it?
I decided early on to be immune to the criticism of others. I made these films for myself, and they were a reflection of my consciousness, my questionings about the world, and what I saw as important to the landscape of humanity. I decided and believe this is truly important when making films or any form of art. You do not make a film for others. You do not make a film for the critics or for those who will find the work too vile or horrific. The reason they found these films vile or horrific was because they were unwilling to look within and see the darkness within themselves. For humans are capable of war and inhumane acts. Look around. I sought to ask deeper questions in order to transcend the suffering of the world and to point the arrow toward a target in the direction of understanding of who really runs things after all.
So what are you doing from the afterlife? Are you creating films there, or you're helping other filmmakers here on Earth?
No, not exactly. In what we call the afterlife, I am working hard, diligently on the development of my own soul. I consider this lifetime important, but I identify in many ways, not solely as an artist or filmmaker. I will help other filmmakers if they ask me, but this is not my goal at the moment. I am immersed in my own studies. I want to transcend the difficulties that I found in human life in my next lifetime. And so I am learning, I am studying.
Wow.
He shows me all these books. He's
Yeah.
reading all these.
So it feels to me like a very advanced soul, if we can use that term.
I don't subscribe to the term advanced soul. I came in with a mission that is clear, and those with eyes to see can recognize the deeper implications of my work. And I have lived many lifetimes. I am still, in some ways, working through the difficulties of being human. But I consider each lifetime an advancement, and I consider this lifetime an advancement.
Was there another lifetime where your purpose on Earth was not that clear, like the one you had as a Stanley Kubrick?
Oh, many. He's showing me a picture of lifetimes of he's actually showing me he's been in a lot of wars in other lifetimes. This is a theme. He's suffered, died, and killed in wars. And as a result, he has a strong opinion about war and war's effect on consciousness, the collective effect of trauma on humanity. And he sought to ask questions about war. And so he's not showing me it's a lifetime of meandering in the way that the question implies, but he's showing me that lifetimes where he has either been killed or killed others deeply affected him.
Interesting. Yeah, he made like maybe 3 movies about war, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he was very much attracted to that kind of theme, basically. So was there a film or idea you never got to realize during life that you still think about?
He's
This is
smiling.
very human question that you still
Yeah.
think about.
Um, he says he has thousands of unmade films. Thousands. Yes. Yes.
Do you think those thousands will be made by others, or those are original ideas that only belong to you?
No, I would say in my way, in the way I saw and sought to blend ideas together and to ask larger questions, I would say that they could only be made in my way, but the ideas are fair game for everyone.
Um, so we're we're going to talk about Eyes Wide Shut. There is a lot of controversy around this movie, and people want to know where did the influence come from for Eyes Wide Shut. I know it's based on the novel, but what pushed you to choose this novel and base the movie on?
I believe you are asking about the understory or the undercurrent of this film. So let's get to the point. This film is pointing the arrow in the direction of understanding. It is meant to open people's eyes to what is happening on the planet and continues to happen. I used the novel as a story to suggest larger themes of darkness. Open your eyes and watch this film deeply, and you will see what I am trying to say. I want to be careful, for it is important that you both remain safe. But yes, there is a lot to this film. You could say that with any of my films. There is a lot to all of my films. And they are meant to be watched over and over and to come to deeper understandings about yourself and about what it means to be human and who controls the narrative after all. I sought to question also the larger propaganda that we witness daily, that humans are subject to. I believe and watch now as many humans are waking up from the spell and coming to their own realization that they have been duped, that they have been lied to, and there are a group of people in control. I am not saying this so that people become fearful, but I am saying that it is important to wake up now. It is important to understand that you have power and you have a mission here. And even though the mission will be unique to you and probably a lot different than mine, you still have a mission. I believe that I, in some small way, contributed to the understanding, to the waking up across the world. I hope that my films contribute positively in this way, even though they often explore the theme of darkness. I believe that we contain multitudes, both dark and light. And in this exploration, you can come to the correct conclusion and choose the light. Next question.
Yes. So the question has maybe something to do with what you just said. Did you attend or hear rumors of secret elite parties similar to those shown in the film?
No, I did not attend. Yes, I am aware of the parties and sought to shed light on these secret societies. I will leave it at that. It is important to draw your own conclusions to my work, for my work seeks to ask larger questions, but I never seek to have anyone arrive at any certain answer. That was a decision I made early on and one I stuck to. The fascination with Eyes Wide Shut remains. Even though it was not well received, this movie touched something in a lot of people. It echoes on something within yourself. But yes, it also points the arrow in the direction of an understanding of a dark world that exists. We can move on.
Yes. So there are some conspiracy theories according to which your final cut of this movie was altered after your passing. So is it true?
Yes, the cut was altered so that it would be able to be shown more widely. I did not agree with this decision, but ultimately am at peace with how the film has reached a wider audience and been received.
So if you were still alive, you wouldn't have agreed on these cuts. You would have left it like you
No,
wanted it to.
no, certainly not. I never made films to pander to the wishes of others. I made films as works of art for myself and to ask larger questions. I would not have agreed to this cut, but ultimately have concluded that it was the right decision, for the work has been able to reach a much wider audience.
So what happened when you died, and in the first like 3 days you stuck around making sure that they were doing justice to the movie, etc., etc. What were you doing right after you died?
One of the worst qualities about my personality on Earth was an obsessive, almost compulsive need to control each and every detail. I worked tirelessly, obsessively, without ceasing, sometimes without sleeping. It was difficult for me after I left for a few days, a few short days, to let go of control. For these were my children. I know it sounds silly to call them that, but I felt this way. These films were more important to me than any human relationships I had on Earth. So I stuck around until it did not seem prudent to do so. And then I decided to make that final grand journey toward the light.
So when you say it wasn't prudent to do so, what do you mean exactly?
There were times in my personality where I made someone go further than they wanted to or were willing to do for themselves. I regret my decisions, and I regret some of my obsessive thinking, for in truth, it created discord. And I believe and will admit that some of my actions were inhumane. I was no saint. I admit to that. You call me an advanced soul, but there are certainly things to learn about being human and treating people humanely that I am still learning and will continue to learn and hope to learn in this next lifetime. I did not know how to stop, for within me there was an obsessive quality, a quality to make things exact and perfect over and over and over and over. And I would not ever let it go until it was exact and perfect. And this quality, while creating interesting and unique art, does not always lend itself to being the kindest and most gentle human. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So basically, you're saying that maybe right after you, like in spirit, you were sticking around and
Yes.
you might have been able with your energy to negatively impact the humans that were still, working on the movie. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in part, I'm saying that. I'm also saying that when I was on the earth, I often acted inhumanely toward others, and I regret this.
So you understood in that moment too, because of that experience and the regret. Did you feel the regret, right? Like,
Yes,
yes.
yes, right away, I felt the
So,
weight of how I had treated others unfairly in life. Because I had no stopping point, I would often push people to the edge. And I regret this deeply.
so that basically helped you. That regret helped you to let go and then cross over. Just say, okay, I let go. I really relinquish control or something
Yes,
like
this
that.
is true. This is a big lesson in my lifetime. I do not feel the acute pain of regret in the same way now, but have made earnest and sincere effort to learn from my negative actions.
So that's interesting because being so obsessive, so controlling, you actually left the movie, um, before it was released, and so you couldn't control the final cut in the end because it was altered, and that was the ultimate lesson right before you crossed over. That's very interesting.
This is true. This was an ultimate lesson for me, for I would never relinquish control in any other circumstance and in any other film. Therefore, it was a big learning curve, as we could say.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So people are actually curious what parts of the movie were cut and why. If we want to linger still on this.
I think it is important to see the film as it is and not linger on what did not make the film. For ultimately, I am at peace and believe the film turned out well, and believe that the film has many messages for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. And you can reflect deeply on the nuances and various layers of what is being said or what is being asked. We can move on.
Yes. So people think that there might have been something suspicious about your death, etc. So once and for all, do we want to clear this air about your death if it was?
I say this. I died of natural causes. You could say that I, in some ways, killed myself. I worked myself to the bone and worked others around me to the bone. And this I deeply regret in my final days.
I don't know why they're asking the question. So did Nicole Kidman play any role in what happened to you, or does it go much deeper?
No.
Okay. So let's move on to different questions and different events. And it's about the landing, the moon landing footage. Did you stage or help create the televised moon landing footage for NASA in 1969?
You could say I was involved. Yes.
Because actually, what I know is that the footage, the moon landing actually happened, but the footage was really bad. So
this is correct. This is correct.
okay. Were there spiritual, occult, or esoteric truths hidden in films like 2001, A Space Odyssey, or The Shining?
Of course. Of course.
So
it is difficult for me to talk about these films together in the same sentence, for they are, each one has a completely different aim. Space Odyssey explores human consciousness. What is real? What is artificial? What is true? What is false? An odyssey into your own consciousness. We will leave it at that.
Speaking about 2001, there is this computer that, this AI, this form of intelligence that is revolting against the humans. And So what do you think about what's happening today, that we actually have this development in the AI technology?
You could say, one could argue that this film was a bit visionary or ahead of its time. Heed the warnings in this film. Pay attention. It is important that you remain rooted in your own soul and do not let any technology take over. It is important you remain and stay in communion with one another and remember what it means to be human. You could argue that I had visions of what is happening right now and felt deeply and profoundly concerned. It is important that you heed the warnings offered in these films, and in this film in particular, for much is at stake. There is a war, in fact, a war between light and dark. You must choose. You must choose now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We can move on.
Yes. So what's with the Native American symbolism and patterns in The Shining?
If you can understand that symbolism touches upon the collective unconscious, and each of these symbols will activate within a human being their own innate intelligence. This is the purpose of the symbolism. It's in stark contrast with the evil presented in this film. I like to explore paradox. I like to explore misunderstanding. I like to explore what it means to have the sacred and the profane in the same space. This film was a conscious exploration of the themes I am speaking about. Next question.
So how do you view humanity's spiritual evolution from your current vantage point?
From my vantage point, I view humanity as moving through a massive awakening. And my films, I hope and believe, could assist in some small way in this awakening. Even though I see this awakening happening, it is important to acknowledge the darkness, and it is important to remain firmly rooted in your choice to align with the light. That is my viewpoint of the current situation.
Thank you. What do you now see about life that you were wrong about before?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. What do you now see about life that you were wrong about before?
Many things. Many things. I was wrong in my quest to find perfection, I was wrong in how I treated others, and I deeply regret some of my actions. Kindness and humility were not my strong suit. I was a difficult man, a brilliant but difficult man. And I am learning the importance of treating people with respect and kindness now.
Yes, in fact, there is a question very specific here. Do you regret how you treated Shelley Duvall during The Shining? She spoke of enduring physical and emotional distress during filming. So you were pushing the actors to their limits.
Yes, I deeply regret how I treated Shelley and other actors in my films. I am sorry.
So when you were doing that, what is it that you were looking for to get from them? What is it?
I believed wrongly that in order to make a good film, we must push ourselves to the edge of madness. This was incorrect, and I am wrong. I felt this about myself, this constant nagging obsession. It would not end, and I would push others as well. That is all I wish to say about this.
So just a few questions and then we're done. About your belief system, if you believed in the afterlife or you had any kind of belief in terms of death, what happens after and so on.
To be honest, I was not sure. It seemed that there was something beyond myself and being in a small, limited perspective. But I also watched and saw the incessant evil and darkness in the world, and it seemed difficult to imagine that humans could be capable of such darkness and also be part of God. Now I know with certainty that there is an afterlife, there is universal intelligence, and it is our job to align with the very nature of this intelligence and operate from a more expanded perspective. For we are all part of one mind and one source.
Have you reincarnated or are you planning to?
Not yet. There are plans in the works, but nothing is set in stone.
Do you have anything in mind? What would you like to experience in your next lifetime?
I would like to experience some contrast, for I found this lifetime that we are talking about today, the lifetime, to be somewhat difficult and lonely. I found human interaction particularly difficult. I desire to have an easier time with human interaction. I desire to evolve uniquely, but to focus my attention in a different way. I do believe that I will continue to make art in some form in a future lifetime, for this is the calling of my soul.
What is your, would you like to give us a final message, a message to humanity now?
My message to humanity is simple. Learn from my mistakes. Treat others with great respect and kindness. Listen. Remember you are human. Align with the very nature of God itself. This is the most important action you can take in your earthly life. Thank you for listening today.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to this interview.
Thank you.
Okay, then. So thank you so much, Courtney. And would you like to tell us about your, there is something coming up, like a workshop that...
Yes, let me come back for a second.
So sorry.
It's okay. Okay. Yes, so I am teaching a 6-week course starting October 23rd, and we're going to really go into all aspects of intuition, learning how you uniquely communicate with spirit, learning your personal guides. Erik says he'll be there, and it should be a lot of fun, and we're going to learn a lot, and it'll be very helpful. So sorry, my sales pitch isn't very good right now because I'm still coming back, but you can find more on my website.
But you can find the link to this workshop down below in the description box. And also please visit channelingericdoc.com. I'm very close to finishing finally this documentary on Erik Medius, for whoever out there knows him and his life. It's coming out very nicely, and we're still raising money because it's never enough. Like, it's just you have to pay professionals, and it's quite expensive. So you can buy T-shirts, so you can donate whatever you want. Please check channelingericdoc.com. So thank you again, Courtney,
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.